Let's say they hire an offsite team member to help them on their rehab team. What would be your recommendation so that they have a really good relationship?
If you're going to hire a person who has knowledge already, the only thing that I believe that's going to be super important will be aligning what they know with the company's policies.
Everyone is on the same page. This is what the process is. Everyone needs to know that this is how we do things.
One of the hardest things that any medical supply store can do is deal with documentation needs. Hey, good day, and welcome to the Offsite Team Podcast. I'm here with my good friend April, and we have a special guest today from the Howard's Medical Offsite Team. Her name is Jackie. How are you today, Jackie?
Doing great, sir.
Yeah. Hey, we have now run Howard's Medical Supply based out of Yakima, Washington, and with 4 other locations doing DME, respiratory, rehab for well over 20 years. One of the hardest things that any medical supply store can do is deal with documentation needs. And not only documentation needs for rehab products, group 2 wheelchairs, group 3 wheelchairs, anything CRT, even standard K1 wheelchairs. It is so hard to get them covered. And even if you think they're covered, the evil companies, third-party payers, I'm not going to talk about them this episode. I've talked about them enough times. They will say, you know what? We're going to audit that claim. And if this one comma is in the wrong place, we're going to deny it. And we might even call it the F word, fraud. So we have found a solution to it. It's amazing. And what I wanted to do, April and I, some of you said, hey, we'd love to hear from your team. And we're just going to kind of chat with Jackie, who works on our rehab team. And what we wanted to kind of do is we wanted to take back the big curtain. What's behind the curtain? If you want to go back to the 1930s, there was this great movie called The Wizard of Oz. And there was this wizard behind the curtain. And everyone's like, oh, this wizard must be really big. And then they took the curtain back, and it was a little man. And he was a nice little guy. And that's who the wizard was. So even though April and I will kind of talk about how things work, I just kind of like, the last 2 weeks we've talked to other offsite team members, and today we're going to talk to Jackie. And so let's just kind of, hey, Jackie, so let me know, how long have you worked for the offsite team and specifically on Howard's Medical's account?
I started Feb 14 of last year, so a little bit over a year and 8 months.
Yeah. Yeah, so you haven't even been with us 2 years, and hopefully your team leads have told you, but if not, you are performing very, very well. So tell me, before you worked for us, don't mention any other companies. What are some other jobs that you've done, let's say the last 5 to 10 years in the Philippines, besides working for Howard's Medical and Offsite Team?
So I started working when I was 18. It was through a BPO company. I worked for a year for AT&T, then got transferred to Boost Mobile, another telco
So you did
company.
AT&T and then you did Boost.
Yes. And then I moved to another company since I'm not seeing any growth. So I moved to another company, got hired, and I was a technical support for what's the cable company again? I forgot.
We have a lot of, I can't even keep track. And even if you knew the company's name, it's probably been bought and sold and they've changed the name. There's Cox, Spectrum, Ziply, you name it. There's so many different names out there. So you've done a lot of telecommunications work. What else?
After telecommunications, cable company, I worked with Western Union back in 2018. Then by 2019, just before COVID started, I worked for a DME company in California.
Then you applied to work for us, and we're like, yeah, sure, you have some DME experience. Let's try her out. And oh my, you've just done an amazing job. And we've even you're one of our higher performers. We do have a few team members, and you may or may not know this. When I go out to the Philippines in a couple of months, we can talk about this again. But there are certain performers, when they're achieving such a high standard, we will kind of reinvent your position. And that's really what we did with you in the last year. We're like, I wonder if we have Jackie do this. And a lot of people wonder, I'm going to stereotype workers from the Philippines. They think they can only do one thing. And in my experience, you are like anyone else. You're like any other American, any other Filipino, any other. And what that truly means is in the United States, we have some amazing workers. We have some other workers, don't hire them. They won't show up for work. When they do work, they don't do a good job. You almost have to fix their work. And then you have something in the middle. And Jack, you're on the very high end because and like anyone else, as we hire team members, if people do one thing well, we will promote or we'll give you something else, whether you want to go to leadership or even just kind of switch your position a little bit. You have a great way of thinking through things. So before we talk medical supplies and rehab primarily in terms of what does it look like to work on back end work, getting group 2, group 3, manual wheelchairs, Tilton spaces covered. Let's think back to all your previous jobs before medical supply. Tell me your favorite and least favorite experience working. So what was the best you ever had, and then what was the worst? And tell me why. I'm just curious.
Well, the best will be it's always resolving the concern.
Mm-hmm.
If they call in, why can't I send SMS? Like who uses SMS now?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
So of all the companies you work, which was your favorite, and tell me why?
of all the companies, not DME
Yeah,
related,
not DME related. Tell me your favorite
uh,
company you worked for.
my favorite is actually the DME part. It's
Well, you pick
none
one
with
beside. Hey, I'm trying to not DME before DME. Pick one. Which was your favorite or portion of it, and why did you like it?
it's the technical support stuff.
Yeah, why? Why do you like
Yeah,
that?
we have powerful tools there. We can wipe the data on our end with just one
Hmm.
click of a finger,
I
and
knew
then
you could do that.
yep, we have that. We can report phones stolen, things like
Uh-huh.
that. And then the least favorite part is when I work as a retention specialist.
Oh, I can see that. You're trying to save sales.
Save sales, not allowing them to move to a different courier when the service is really that bad.
I can see that. I'm just curious. It's always nice to know. I work with a lot of people who, let's say, have had previous positions as I hated it, but almost always, even on jobs that we don't like, there are things that we can learn from that.
True.
And one of our secret sauces at Howard's, but which has really helped with the offsite team, is we've learned to really, what I would say, work our sales funnel. And we're not going to talk too much about that, but any of our listeners who are listening, how do you work a sales funnel for the rehab team? We have it all. We have our proven process, and it works basically from the top of the sales funnel, which would be like a cane or a diabetic shoes or a nebulizer. How does that go all the way down to a group 3 wheelchair, which is really, really profitable? And we have a proven process that works. You know about that. But if any of our listeners is curious, just give me a call. I'll walk you through it. And we can even say, hey, you cannot have Jackie, but we have other workers similar to Jackie that know how to use the process. Because once you understand the sales funnel, not only does it help each company's business, what it also helps is it really helps the patient. Because a lot of times, if a patient has a nebulizer, let's use something really easy. A nebulizer, they may not know the odds of having a nebulizer, especially if they have like COPD, of moving to oxygen is really, really high later down the road, or maybe even a ventilator. They're not going to talk about that, but we are aware of that on the back end and have a proven process of knowing what we're going to work and look for, diagnosis codes, working directly with the doctors, insurance companies. And once we know this, it's like understanding a map. I'm going to the Philippines. I'm flying to a city in the Philippines called Dumaguete. Well, there's no Seattle to Dumaguete flight. So how do I do it? The proven process is Seattle to Tokyo, Tokyo to Manila, Manila to Dumaguete. Very, very easy. And it's the same with any DME billing, respiratory billing, rehab billing. You need to know what the proven process is, and it can be kind of hard. So, Jackie, now let's jump to your current role on the rehab team. What do you see is like the top 3 things that are just so hard to work with that you struggle with as you try to take care of patients and their rehab needs?
First one will be the physical therapy evaluations
Oh
for our.
my. Why is that so hard?
There are physical therapy clinics with limited insurances that they can take. Can I mention an example?
Oh,
No.
absolutely. We can't talk patients, but yeah, you can talk insurance companies. Absolutely.
So, for example, Therapeutic Associates can't accept Molina. So, we have patients in Yakima where of their insurance are with Molina. So, that's the only process that's missing, the physical therapy evaluation. And then, if we refer them like places like Helplex, which is in Richland, I believe, issues will be transportation, too far, they don't offer telehealth. things like that.
Absolutely. Hmm.
Yeah.
So
So,
how do you, so you have to get around this and you have to use what I would say your Spidey skills, because we all
Mhm.
like Spider-Man because Spidey has some Spidey skills. He's just like this scrawny little guy, but really he has superpowers. And I'm going to talk you up. You have some superpowers and you know how to get around it. You don't cheat, but if this doesn't work, then we're going to do this. If this one doesn't work, we're going to do this. And there is a way around that. Sometimes it's really easy, and other times it can be really complicated, can it?
I agree.
So now tell me, that's one of the hardest things to work with. What is your favorite thing to do on the rehab team as you're helping patients out with their equipment needs?
It's like with the previous works that I work with. Once we resolve dispense the chair, seeing that
Hmm.
I've actually gotten, this is from the previous company that I work with. I've gotten a call before from a family where they think us patient eventually pass away like 3, 4 days after we dispense the durable medical equipment. But the family was really thankful that we were able to provide better life before the patient passed away.
Hmm.
So that's like one of the most rewarding experiences that I've had with durable medical equipment.
Yeah, and they love that. So one of the things that we do differently is, we're always working the back end processes. We have a
Mhm.
very good proven process, but the advantage of having an offsite staff, because we can allocate more resources, because this is all you do. You check in with the patients, letting them know where their chair is in the process, because sometimes this can take up to 6 months or 3 months to get these blasted chairs covered. It should take 2 weeks, maybe a week, and as far as I'm concerned. So what do you do on those chairs that take 6 months? What are you doing with the patients and family there when it does take that long?
We keep them posted. We let
Hmm.
them know that where we are at the process and where we need their assistance. Like, for
Hmm.
example, most doctor's office are not responding to our faxes, phone calls, even if we've done it multiple times in a week, in a month. We call them to let them know that we need their intervention. Hey, we need you to call your doctor. It's been like X number of days and we haven't received any response yet. With the patient's intervention, inclusion in the process, it speeds it up.
And they'll work on your behalf, won't they?
Yep, it
Hmm.
does.
So either April or Jackie, how often do we call the patients?
Well, we do follow up once a week, and whenever we do follow up, we make sure that we're collaborating with the patient by updating them of
Hmm.
what's going on, because we cannot just do our thing and then not letting them know what's going on. That will make them mad.
Yeah, so we are proactively calling them
Mhm.
every single week. And we've had some patients like, I know this is Thursday. You call me every Thursday at 2. I know it hasn't
Right.
happened. But they appreciate that because it's a
Mhm.
touch point to let them know we have not forgotten about them. And we let them know where it's at in the process. You'll hear me say the biggest source of disappointment is unmet expectations.
Mhm.
It's so, whereas at least they know it's at this doctor's office or it's at the insurance company or where it's
Mhm.
at, so they know who to complain to. And what we found before we have these touches where we're calling them every single week, they always thought it was our fault. And that would drive me nuts because I'm like, no, it's Melina's fault. Or
Mhm.
it's, throwing the insurance company that's not friendly this week. And this is the beauty of us contacting the patients. So we always contact the patients every single week, no matter what. They know it's us. Sometimes we'll just leave a message and say, hey, call us if
Mhm.
you want an update. But what Jackie can also do is so, and this is not only Jackie, this is anyone on our rehab team or across our company. We do utilize SMS, i.e., text
Yes.
messaging. We can
Mhm.
text patients, we can email patients. We use the way our company, we use Bright Tree's portal because you do have to use a portal, so it's HIPAA compliant. So we
Right.
use the Bright Tree portal, which is really, really helpful. There are some other options out there. And then, so not only are we calling them every single week, they can call us at any time. So if they want to call Jackie 5 times a week, they can. We're not going to do that. And Jackie's like, nothing has happened. We're still waiting. Mrs. Smith, how's your cat? I mean, it's like because you get to a point, there's nothing we can do as we're waiting for the
Mhm.
appointment. April, you've been with us almost 5 years, or if not more than 5 years now. What's kind of the evolution you've seen working the back end with rehab? Because rehab is different because you've worked PAP, you've worked oxygen, you've worked general DME. Rehab is
Mhm.
a different beast. Not everyone can do rehab. How
Correct.
is rehab different on the back end?
I'd say it's much more in line with everyone now, because
Mm-hmm.
the moment that I got in here 5 years ago, everything is just different. Like, everyone is doing different things. Now, what we do with the help of Jackie and the other team members, as well as the team lead, is that they're all collaborating and making sure that everyone is on the same page. This is what the process is. Everyone needs to know that this is how we do things.
Mhm.
And I think that's very important.
It is. And some nice things, not all offsite team members only work at Howard's Medical. They work at
Mhm.
other companies as well
Mm.
too. And as a policy, we never share any information outside of the specific companies. We have other offsite team members working other companies, and so we will never share general data. But if we are getting stuck, we might say, "Hey, Jackie, I know you worked on another Tilton Space patient with Melina. What was your secret to getting that covered?" Because a lot of this, we'll call it tribal knowledge. Everyone is a little bit different, and we can put our minds together because where we are is we want everyone to win. And what it looks like to win is getting that wheelchair covered so that that patient gets the wheelchair, it gets covered by insurance. And when I'm old and I'm a grandparent, what do I want? I want to be able to get my power wheelchair and go down and watch my grandkid or my great grandkid in a cross country meet. If Jackie doesn't get that wheelchair covered, Jackie knows I'm stuck in my house. Jackie knows I'm stuck in my house because then I'm calling you, aren't I, Jackie?
True.
So Jackie wants to get that wheelchair covered as well as me. I want to go watch my great grandkids in a cross country meet. So this is the beauty of what we're doing. Not only are we helping out small businesses, we're helping get your patients out, and whether it be a cross country meet they watch, going to bingo halls, going to church, whatever it is that gives them life. Having people like Jackie and our rehab team is really, really helpful. We also use our offsite rehab team to work things that are not nearly as much fun because they also don't pay very much money. Things like wheelchair repairs. Those are hard to get covered. And what's hard, a lot of companies, I'll throw a national under the bus. Actually, I won't say the national's name. They'll just do new stuff. When it comes to repairs, they almost ignore those patients because there's no money in repairs. Sometimes with repairs, our goal is to just break even. And then our goal is to get them to the 5-year mark. So then we can get the new group 3 chair, the group 2 chair, which we do make money on. So the nice thing is so Jackie, you're working those new businesses and our sales funnel. We also have our offsite team working the repairs process. So depending on how much volume an individual rehab company has, you might only need one offsite team member, or you might need, we're at 6, 7, 8, 9 offsite team members just in the rehab department, but because there's so much work to do and it gets harder and harder and harder. Let's say we have someone listening to our podcast and they hire an offsite team member to help them on their rehab team. What would be your recommendation so that they have a really good relationship?
For me, to be honest, it's just freedom. If you're going to hire a person who has knowledge already, the only thing that I believe that's going to be super important will be aligning what they know with the company's policies. That's actually the first thing that Aliyah said to me when we first met, once I started here. She said, I know that you have knowledge, but what we're going to do here is calibrate it to match the company's policies.
So, April, if one of our companies that works for the offsite team, or let's say you're listening to this podcast and want to hire an offsite team member to have a rehab team member on their team, what advice would you give them as they hire a brand new rehab team member to really help them get wheelchairs authorized and billed? What would you tell them?
I would definitely inform them that it is important to do the training, like extensive training, because we need to make sure that we're always up to date and at the same time connecting with the team member, because that's really important, trusting them.
And Jackie, I think, has said this before as well, too, trusting the team member. But what does that look like? Because trust can mean different things and to connect with a team member. So if someone were to hire an offsite team member, Jackie, what does it look like to trust you and to communicate well with you? What does that look like?
Since offsite team is going to be virtual, like virtual assistants, you have to trust that we have strong integrity. So we do the right thing even when nobody's watching. So we won't be compromising the patient's account, doctor's info. So we'll make sure that we'll be able to dispense accordingly and then get those chairs out.
So let's just say one of our listeners does hire an offsite team member, but they still question, because I know you said they need to trust them, but they have a question and they're worried about something. What should they do?
If they're worried about something, if they have a question, they just need to ask. Like what we're currently doing with Howard's.
Mm-hmm.
An additional line of security is or to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to do is,
Mm-hmm.
again, the tool that we're using, which is insightful.
Mm-hmm.
They can use tools like that to monitor their offsite.
Absolutely. And so if they did have questions, hey, is, my offsite team member doing what I'm doing? They can call you on the phone. They can
Mm-hmm.
text message you because all of our phones SMS back and forth. We can video
Mhm.
call quite a bit. And then if you further don't trust, yes, all of our offsite members have the product we use is called Insightful. And what it does, it's a screen tracking software. So all throughout the day, we could just see, okay, what are they working on? What screen? Are they wasting time? Are they doing this? We can see what's going on throughout the day. And those are just things that we have in place. And then we also have, as Abel and I have previously talked, because we're at the size of our business that we are, I'm frequently going to the Philippines, and our owners can, if you want to, our offsite team would love to have you visit your team members. Go to the Philippines.
Mhm.
You can even turn into a little vacation. I'd strongly recommend. Great beaches. It's sunny. Go in the winter. Your winters are amazing. But then also, eventually, we've had several offsite team members. You got to pay for them to come. You can invite them to the States as well, too. Like April, you've come for a week, 2 separate times. And that's kind of nice as well, because that builds trust. That is
True.
significantly more expensive. It's really hard for Filipinos to come to the United States because the visa process is
Mhm.
significantly harder. We figured out
Correct.
how to do that here at Howard's and offsite team. It is hard though, because even though we know what we're doing, we run about 50%. So we've applied for, let's say, 8 visas and we've been granted 4 of them. So we're still trying to
Mhm.
figure that out. And we can walk other companies if they did want to bring their employees over here for some training and what that looks like. So there's a lot of different ways to skin the raccoon. And by the way, that's a saying that just our family says. My daughter hates raccoons. So instead of saying skin the cat, she's like, Dad, skin the raccoon. So there's a lot of different ways to skin the raccoon. So, well, cool. Well, hey, Jackie, thank you for joining us. I know you were nervous. You did amazing, as you always do. You're such a high performer. And we are really, really thankful to have you on our team. Well, so, hey, if anyone's listening to this podcast, as people listen to this podcast and you say, hey, I might be interested in hiring an offsite team member, it is so easy. I think currently we have 1 or 2 team members ready to be placed. I don't care if we don't
Mhm.
wait a little while, because the longer that they don't get placed with someone else, they're training in our parent company is what they're doing. So, and even if you hire someone you don't like them, just send them back to us. We'll put them right back to work. We're not going to fire them, because if we would have fired them, we would have already done so. So we were like, okay,
Mhm.
we'll put them back into our company. So it's literally, it's zero risk. All that our companies have to worry about is just the time trying it. So literally take the puppy home. If you don't like the puppy, send the puppy back. But we all know what the kids will say if you send the puppy back. They'll be sad. Anyway, so thank you, Jackie. We appreciate you. And go to offsiteteammember.com. We'd love to talk to you. Rex will talk to you. April will talk to you all. Just kind of chat about how we can help you guys out. So until next week.